Abraham Lincoln once said, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." Our essential question is, what was Abraham Lincoln's significance on the Civil War? But before we do talk about that, how about we give some background information on our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln?
Abraham Lincoln, of course, was born to Nancy and Thomas Lincoln on February 12, 1809, in a one-room log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky. I later moved to southern Indiana in 1816. I had two siblings, Sarah Lincoln Grigsby and Thomas Lincoln Jr.
Abraham Lincoln's most successful job before presidency was his work as a lawyer, and he was self-taught. Also, while being a lawyer, he only lost one case, which is very impressive.
But Lincoln's only job wasn't being a lawyer. He was a co-owner of a general store, and he also worked on his parents' farm in southern Indiana. He was a jack of many trades.
Abraham Lincoln participated in the 1860 United States election and actually won with only 40% of the votes. And unlike today, there was actually 4 candidates.
As the President of the United States, my main goal was to eventually abolish slavery, and because I wanted to do this, just 44 days after I was elected, South Carolina seceded from our beautiful country.
Seceding or secession is the action of withdrawing formally from a membership of a federation or body, especially a political state.
Anyways, after South Carolina seceded, 10 more states would end up seceding from the United States or the Union to form the Confederate States of America.
The Confederate States of America, otherwise known as the Confederacy, said that they felt like their state rights were being violated. This was their way of saying, we want to keep slavery, and if we can't have that, then we're leaving.
Ultimately, by the 11 states seceding and forming Confederate States of America, it will lead to start the American Civil War.
The Civil War started on April 12, 1861, and ended on May 13, 1865. During the Civil War, the President of the United States of the Union was myself, Abraham Lincoln, and the President for the Confederate States of America, or the Confederacy, was Jefferson Davis.
The Civil War consisted of nearly 10,500 battles, engagements, and other military actions. There was nearly 50 major battles fought and about 100 others that had major significance.
Really?
But it was the Battle of Antietam that allowed Lincoln to write the Emancipation Proclamation, which paved the way for slavery to be abolished. Antietam provided the major northern victory needed for the Union to confidently issue the proclamation on January 1st, 1863. At the start of the war, Lincoln had carefully worded and framed the central conflict of the war as being centered on the preservation and survival of the Union, not as the abolition of slavery. While we know Abe had always hated slavery on a personal level, he was careful not to use this as the central theme of his speeches. In hopes of pleasing as many states as possible, especially the 4 slave-holding border states still under his command, all of this changed in mid-1862 when thousands of slaves fled in the hopes of joining the fight on the side of the invading Union troops. Lincoln now became convinced that the abolition of slavery could be a strong military strategy as well as the moral path of justice. Soon after the much-needed September 1862 Union victory at Antietam, Lincoln issued his proclamation that as of January 31st, 1863, all slaves in the rebellious states shall thenceforth and forever free. This was a major turning point in the war, changing not only the motivation of the war to a morale one, but also freeing slaves to join the fight for their own freedom.
That on the first day of January, in the year of our Lord 1863, all persons held as slaves within any state or designed part of a state, the people whereof shall then be in rebellion against the United States shall be thenceforward and forever free.
Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, was a self-taught lawyer, clever military strategist, and an outspoken opponent of slavery. But sadly, on April 14, 1865, he was shot at Ford's Theater and died the next day. While Lincoln's death was tragic, he will not be forgotten. He wrote the Emancipation Proclamation, which paved the way for slavery to be abolished, and led the Union to a victory to end slavery in our country and keep it in one piece. Overall, Abraham Lincoln had a major effect on the Civil War, and will go down as one of the best presidents in U.S. history.